as well. So there's an overabundance of information for you. And so with that, I'll move ahead with the presentation. You each would have received a copy of my budget message, which I do every year. I don't need to read to you, but I do want to go through and hit some of the highlights. As always, the budget that we are presenting is balanced, as is required by law. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. This was a tough budget to put together as we continue to see the rising costs associated with inflation and lead time. There were a lot of challenges with this year's budget. I know that Susan and her staff, and Grady specifically, have just been amazing through the process. Susan having the detail-oriented that she is, and Grady being the same, and then having somebody like me who's like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and her going, okay, here's what we can do, here's what we can't do. It's been a good balance, and I also want to thank the directors. The directors always show up, and they fight for their folks and their departments like they should, but they also understand that we have a limited revenue source, and we have to operate within our parameters, so there's never easy decisions to make when it comes to the budget. The proposed 2025 budget, we started developing this in February. You're going to notice that for the third consecutive year, because of our increased sales tax collections, we are increasing the budget amount of sales tax that we collect. So up until 3 years ago, even though we had exceeded $11,250,000, we had far exceeded that each year. So we have gradually increased that responsibly. We're going to increase projections $1 million. That will take us up to $14,250,000 that we budget. We've already collected through April. Apologize, right here. I've got so many. Through April, we've already collected $12,800,000. That we know the 3 remaining months we're going to hit the $16 million mark, 15 to 16 million. So we're being conservative again, but we're making sure that with increased costs, we need to budget those so we can acquire the things and provide the services that we need. We're also going to increase the use tax budget for the first time in a while. We typically budget for about $1.5 million in our use tax every year, as we did this year, and we've already collected 1.6 or 1.7 this year, I believe. So we're on track. We're going to increase that to 1.9 moving forward. You will see through this budget some interesting things that we don't typically mention in the budget note. There are a lot of rollovers in capital in equipment and projects because the lead time and the cost. It takes longer to get things done. It takes us longer to get things here. We are confident that we will continue to apply the best practices. So while it looks like there is a large increase in the budget from last year to this year, when you look at total capital at $28 million, $9 million of that is rollover from the current year or even a year before that we still haven't received the equipment, even though it's been on order, but we haven't paid for it, or it's a project that's rolled over. So if you look at total capital minus the rollovers, we're at about 20 million. Last year, this current year, we're at about 20 million, so we kept that the same, fairly close to it. You're going to see some things in here about $1 million one-time expense from ONG. If you'll recall, we came to this body and we had some state prep funding where Claremore was identified. So there's $4.9 million allocated to us to expand natural gas service to the northeast part of the city. That project for ONG is about $5.9 million. So we came to the council, we authorized and entered into an agreement that we would fund the additional $1 million in the next fiscal year. So that's in here. That's an increase in capital expense. Some of you have been around a while and you know about our issues with electric meters and GE. The meters work, let me be clear on that, but the GE contract that we got into back in 2013 that started implementing in 2014 has never really met the expectations of the city. They haven't been able to provide the services that we thought and that the contract required. There have been multiple iterations of the contract where the contract has been negotiated down in our favor. But we had an instance this last summer that brought that to head again. And we just decided that it was probably in the best interest of everybody involved, both GE, who no longer really provides any of the service, they now act as a middleman, and the city to go their separate ways. But what does that look like as we have millions of dollars in their assets in the form of meters? So that contract, over 21,000 meters, about 13,000 plus in electric and about 8,000 in water meters that were through that process. Purchasing those meters outright or giving them back and having to go buy brand new ones versus what are the future costs of the contract and some other things. So we started having conversations several months back, the direction of Tim White, our IT director, Stan Brown, and myself, and many conversations with Eric Nelson from our law firm about an instance that happened this last year, and it became very clear to us and to them that we were in the right and we needed to find a way out of this contract. And we're all ready to go our separate ways. So Tim has spent the last several weeks making sure that as we move forward, we can facilitate what few services they were still offering and still provide services for our citizens. So they came to us with the proposal. Their first proposal, not officially, but through the middleman that they hired, was they wanted about $5 million for all of the meters and some contractual considerations, how we would gradually pay that out. Because we are buying an asset. We're buying assets from them. Well, we went back and countered. Long story short, they have agreed to sell us all of the meters for $1.8 million and forego the remainder of the contract obligation, which is about $4.1 million. So the meters themselves, even if they were all worth $100 a piece at $21,000, that's a pretty big number. So we feel like this is an opportunity for us to move forward. Our contract currently, we pay GE about $100,000 a month per year, or every year. So that we're in, now, they went in 13 was the contract, implementation was 14. We didn't start paying them until 18 because frankly, they weren't providing the services that they thought they could. Every year, as opposed to holding them accountable where we tried, they just came to us and said, we can't do it, we can't do it. How about we do a reduction in contract? That's basically what happened. Still several $1 million left on the contract because of the asset itself and what they do provide. So is what I've asked and what they've agreed to is that this next year, our contract will effectively end with them on June 30 of this year. Tim has worked directly with Trilliant, who's the manufacturer of the electric meters, Badger on our water meters, and Encode or Tyler, which is our software program, to make sure that everything can connect, visit. We will be able to purchase the meters at a significantly reduced rate from GE, and they have agreed to forego those future contractual prices. And from a cash flow standpoint, I didn't want to just write them a big check, so they have agreed to, beginning July of 2025, or 2024, for 12 months, allow us to make 12 monthly installments of $150,000 instead of $100,000, and then that, we're free and clear of General Electric and that meter debacle. So I say all that, there's $1.8 million in here to GE. There's typically about $1 million a year in there to GE. There's a little built in on that same pay item just in case we run into technical difficulties and we end up having to pay a month or two into the next fiscal year. My last conversation with Tim and his conversation with the providers and the vendors is that we shouldn't have any issue. We should be done by June 30. But I'd rather budget that money because GE has agreed, look, if something happens and we can't get everything up to speed, whether it's a technology issue, a connectivity issue, we may have to pay you for a month or two, and they understand that. So I don't think we'll get there, I'm very confident, but you're going to see a $1.8 million line item in there for GE, and that gets us out of the contract and saves us several $1 million going ahead. So that's a long explanation on that, but I don't have a lot of opportunities to get you all together at the same time to tell you about those things. So this budget also includes only the addition of one employee and the elimination of one part-time employee. That one employee is to facilitate and be somebody that has to now deal with all of the thousands of meters that we deal with internally as opposed to picking them up and sending them off somewhere. So it's to facilitate that particular function. And they will work in the power and light department for Todd Group. So this budget, again, a long, tedious process for us. Last week had the privilege to meet with Mayor Long and Vice Mayor McSpadden, who constitute the Finance Committee this year. We discussed revenue projections. We discussed several of these projects. We believe that moving forward, you concluded that this is a balanced budget that we're going to be presenting to you tonight and asking for you all to consider in 2 weeks. We continue to see investment in this community through new single-family development, multifamily development, commercial. All of those things that we look for in growth are positive. So we're seeing revenue growth in the form of new customers. We're seeing revenue growth in sales tax, but that percentage of growth weighed against the cost of goods and services that we provide is negligible. So that's what makes the budget so tough. You'll see in here large capital expenses that were on the list that we sent you. My first budget year, we budgeted about $1 million for transformers. This is my fourth budget, third really. The first one I walked into, my predecessor presented. That budget line is almost $2 million now. And it's still, and we're ordering the same amount of transformers. Those are the types of things we're up against. Todd was in the office the other day. We use washers on our arms, the arms that attach to the poles that the guy wires sit on, or that the wires are attached to. There's a washer that goes on there, and last year they were 60 cents a piece. Well, this year they're $2 a piece. That didn't mean a lot, but when you go through 10 or 20,000 of them a year, it's a 230% increase. Those are the types of things that we're dealing with. All that to say that it's a tough budget year. We still have to provide services. This budget still includes a commitment to our streets. If you'll allow me to defer to Union Pacific for a moment. It's been nice. They've been replacing a bunch of track and doing some work, so we're only getting about 2 or 3 a day now. You will see our continued commitment to the streets program. Matter of fact, the current fiscal years we're a little behind on because the last was, so we're actually going to combine the current one, that's one of the rollover numbers, and it's going to roll over. We're going to combine the FY 23-24 with the 24-25. So there's a $2.3 million street project. And so still the same dollars, we're just going to get them done. And I've requested that we have that ready to let probably in June, so hopefully we can start going in July and August and get cracking on that. So again, I talked about the carryover amount. It's $8.9 million, almost $9 million. The budget also accounts for just $4.1 million in the use of reserve funds to transfer into balance. That's a lot of money, but that's actually down from last year, almost $300,000. So we're trying to get that balance out there. You'll see that our proposed budget for 2025 in sales tax is $14,250,000. Collections year to date, that's just through the end of April, again, 12/8. So we're averaging $1.5 million a month. Is that fair to say, Susan? So we're going to have another $4.5 million roughly come in for when we get April, May, and June's numbers. So we'll get April's next week, and then May and June. We'll get June's in July. You can see the trend from the previous years on the budget message. The city has collected $1.8 million through the end of April, or through the end of March, I apologize. No, April's correct. On the use tax, we budgeted 1.5. So we've got another 3 months of that. So that's why we've allocated another $400,000. We're managing our debt efficiently. There was a time when, we used to spend $100,000 a year on debt services 30 and 40 years ago. Debt services are going to be between $7 and $8 million on all of our notes this year. But it's manageable and it's good. We've got good interest rates. We have exhausted the entirety of the 2019 $10 million revenue note for public improvements, and there's about $2.8 million left on the 2020 revenue note. So again, those notes did not get everything done. They originally, because in 2018 and 19, we first started talking about the prices were much less, interest rates were much less. I wish we could go borrow money at 1.25 and 1.5, which is what we have on those, which is fantastic in business. That's almost like free money, but the project costs have escalated. So they haven't gone as far as they could have, but they've made tremendous impacts to the community. As I reported at the last meeting, we were able to overhaul all of the substations. So we're really excited about that. You'll see this next budget constitute the beginning of our master plan for our electric system and our grid, which we've never had. We have master plans for everything. We don't have one for electric, which just boggled my mind. So there's about $465,000 in capital outlay for that included in this. We've got some major projects with electric. There's a $1.7 million project that you'll see is Baker Hughes. It's not for Baker Hughes, but it's to reconductor and get everything onto their substation. Everything in our park on both sides of 66 will go to a substation that they own, that we operate and monitor. That frees up a tremendous amount of capacity on our existing substation and balances out that load out of substation 3. So there's some things there that you may see, oh, it's for them, it's for us, but we've got to call it something. So you'll see some things in there like that. Tremendous opportunities for us to serve our people better by creating efficiencies in the system. Just like we did with the Talbot Sioux water line a few years ago, you'll notice we don't get a lot of water quality complaints anymore about discoloration because we fixed those things. Just like the streets. I had somebody today tell me how much they appreciate how much they've seen us doing on streets over the last 3 years because we've been very public about it. We're going to continue. You'll see this budget as we go through the work papers as you have them, $16+ million in infrastructure. We're still committed to infrastructure. That was, when you all hired me, that was what we wanted to focus on. You've got about $2 million in some facilities improvements that just have to be made. But there were a lot of cuts in this budget too. There's a lot of things that we had to cut that are needs. But when times are tough, we buckle down. So I say all that we're going to continue to invest in our infrastructure. We're going to continue to have quality partnerships with our tribal partners, the county, our education, our not-for-profit, all of our NGOs. We're going to continue to work together to move forward for the betterment of this community when it comes to investing in infrastructure, investing in initiatives, and investing in people. So in closing, I would say that this budget is submitted under the professional direction of the Director of Finance and her staff, also the Finance Committee. Again, they've worked tirelessly to get this stuff done. And bottom line, the budget consists of this. The total proposed budget for 24-25, which is all interfund transfers, it's not what we're spending, is $115 million. Transfers, interfund back and forth, are $18.3 million. So our operating budget is $96 million. You'll see that capital outlay, $12.2 million. Infrastructure is $16 million. That's that total of $28.7 million. But again, $9 million of that is rollover. And so it's pretty much on par with last year's when it comes to that overall. With that, I'm going to ask Susan to come up and do a high-level overview of the presentation by department. We're not going to read them all to you, but you all have this PowerPoint, and then all of the other working papers, and I'll let Susan take it over from there. She's so happy that we're close. And by the way, we're doing this because Susan decided she wanted to take a vacation. She won't be here in 2 weeks. So ask all the hard questions tonight. No, I'm teasing.
Before she starts, I just want to say, and I'm sure Deputy Mayor Bixbeth would agree, when we had our Finance Committee meeting, loved the new format, getting that information, I think a little more readable and understandable for us. And the questions we asked were all answered. So I appreciate y'all doing your work.
I will try to keep that in mind and go as fast as possible through this budget. But John touched on most of the items we have, so it brings past the lines. But our total proposed budget of $115 million. If we take out the almost $9 million in rollovers, we're actually down compared to last year. But our total operating budget of $96 million is where we're at. This is just a reminder of where the sales tax comes from, the 1 penny for streets and infrastructure, and the expo wastewater treatment. That one is for capital, for debt payments, and then the sludging. Here's our sales tax comparison and charts, because pictures are always more fun than just numbers. But the 1208 is where we are through April, but we anticipate going over the $15 million in the current year. Use tax, the current year's budget is 1.5, but we already received 1.8, so we're conservative there as well, and we're increasing firing range. Out of the general fund, there's 875 that will be spent on the firing range in that fund.
And that's, the majority of that is ARPA dollars that we made a request from and received from the county as well.
So we're going to go over a couple of the highlighted departments. Parks total budget is 2.7. They have several in capital improvements, and then so they're building that ranger station out there. Police total budget's 9.3. It includes a whole bunch of different things: the 911 expenses, your animal control, the operating expenses, and then they have capital. Inside their capital is more expenses for the firing range, and 12 vehicles. 8 of them are from the current year that we still have and won't get till August. So
A lot of the rollovers in
a
that.
lot of the rollover.
And it's, the firing range dollars there is the same firing range dollars from the other graph. It's not, I want to make sure we're.
But it's part of the double police budget. So that's what makes up that one. The fire capital expenses are overall operational 6.9. They have some capital improvements in there as well. They also do the emergency management.
And we did, so the council knows, there was a request. We are up against end of life on one of the engines. We do need to replace it, but the price tag was 1.3 million. And it was just not the year to do it. We are up against its life use. The challenge with that is we could budget the 1.3 million, knowing full well that we won't spend it for probably 3 to 4 years because of the lead time. But when you put that big of a number, you have to have it budgeted before you can order it. And that really changes the budget outlook on capital when you add $1.3 million expense. So we just made the decision to hold off a year and see how things are going.
So our notable capital expenditures for next budget year is the Frederick Road, the right-of-ways. It's $4 million. That won't complete Frederick Road by any means, but the right-of-ways we're hoping to get done out of the street fund. The ONG gas line for the $1 million. This is the city's portion of that project. The Baker Hughes that John talked about, 1.7. GE contract buyout for 1.8. The payment maintenance plan, those are the 2 years combined together. 1.3 of that is the rollover from the current year. And the electric transformers, the 1.9, almost 500,000 of that is a rollover as well. So this is, all of our capital expenditures is 28,743,607. Most of it is infrastructure at 16 million. It includes things like the ONG, the Frederick Road, South Haven right-of-way. There's 2 TAP grants. There's a CDBG grant, lagoon cleaning. There's a whole lot in the infrastructure. The facility improvement is 2.03. And the vehicles, again, that's some of the police vehicles that are rolled over. Our ARPA grant in yellow. That one is the money for the firing range, plus a sewer master plan that will look. Then the special projects and other miscellaneous, that included the tree trimming contract at $750. The street signs, reimbursement to ODOT for money they had sent us for a project that we're reimbursing them.
So y'all know, ODOT paid us for a project, and they overpaid us $526,000. So it's money we had. We got part of that. We got to send it back to them. I tried not to, but no, I'm teasing. But apparently they weren't.
And then the last one, the 1.4, that is 5 flood-prone properties in the Springbrook, plus the Leastone property out by the turnpike. So this slide is the same expenditures, they're just broken out by department. So you can look those over and let us know if you have any questions there. We'll move on to CPWA. revenue is broken out by department as well. The stormwater, the water, the electric has a lot. The sand, that's where we get most of our revenue from. Our sanitation, sewer, bank and investment interest, that's gone up since the ORWB loan because we gained a lot on that one. Our debt service transfer comes in from Fund 45, which is one of our one pennies. So we can help pay for 4 of the almost $8 million we have for that, and then our fund balance carryover. Our Claremore Public Works Authority expenses. These are all by department as well. The notable ones are the non-departmental 000, the $10,150,000. That is a 9.95 transfer that comes back to the general fund, plus $200,000 for the output agreement. Then we have $22 million for GRDA expenses. Electric is made up of a lot of different things, but that's $8 million there. And then the bottom 5 is all of our debt notes that we have equals $7.621 million. So the major departments, this is spread out about the same. Highlights the G contract there, GRDA expenses of $22 million. On the next slide, we talked about sanitation budget, it's $2 million. Also have to operate this department, but they do a great job at what they do. The electric, this will include the GRDA, the smart meters, the 1.8 for GE contract buyout, and several of the capital improvements, including the Baker Hughes moving it to the other substation is in this one as well. Water is $3.5 million. There are a lot of operational expenses as well, but Infomark covers part of that too.
If you'll recall, we have about a $2.8 or $9 million service contract with Infomart, and they operate the water plant as well as the wastewater treatment plant. So we now break that up. So out of the water expenses, about 70% of that contract goes in water, and the remaining 30% is accounted for in the sanitary sewer budget.
So the next slide shows the sewer, which does have that included in operational expenses for Infomark. Next slide for CCDA, the total proposed budget is 2.6, which encompasses the rec center and the expo center. So the expo has a total operating budget of 1.75. The biggest thing in capital improvements is the generator that we've been working on that keeps getting rolled over, $464,000.
And I think 275 of that is ARPA monies from the county as well.
The rec center has $880,000 for their budget. And most of it is just facility improvements at the rec center. We had to cut the exercise machinery out of it this year.
I do want to brag on that department again. I mean, that rec center for what it is and what it offers, that's a pretty small budget for that. Now, salaries, there's only 3 full-time people out there, but we go through 100 people a year on lifeguards and aerobics coaches, so the payroll looks inflated, but it's not. Nobody that works there makes a lot of money at all, but they do such a wonderful job, and I bet between that and the lake park, those are the 2 things we get the most compliments on, and Mitch does such an amazing job out there. It broke my heart, but we cut $180,000 in replacement equipment out there this year just because of the situation. But he just, with a smile, said, "We'll make it work. Appreciate you." So good people.
So this is the overview of the 2020 $10 million capital note, the only one we have left. We used it for Rebus Road, Lower Detention Pond, and Harry Fields Electric Replacement Project, up the RV note. So far, we've spent approximately $2 million in the current year for this project. And this one is phase 2, which is designed to improve the quality of the water. So we currently have 26 million left, but I'm sure that will go fast. So I know it was really fast, and there's a lot of information. So I'm sure you'll have questions, but look them over. Finish your questions on the 15th, and we will answer them, get back to you. If you may have any questions. Okay.
And we'll get this material, the slideshow, as well as the budget message up on the website, as well as the booklet of stuff eventually. It's just a lot to go through. And with that, that concludes our presentation.
To adjourn.
Second. Have a motion to adjourn a second. Call roll.
Michael?
Yes.
Bowlby?
Yes.
Cottom? Yes. Feldman?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Eslick?
Yes.
McSpadden?
Yes.
Call to order the Claremore Public Works Authority meeting. Note the roll. We have a motion to accept the agenda as printed.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion as second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Michael?
Yes.
Cottom? Yes. Feldman?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Eslick?
Yes.
Bowlby?
Yes.
McSpadden?
Yes.
Any items unforeseen?
None.
Under current business, do we have a motion to accept the consent items as printed?
It's a
Second.
congenial agenda.
It's a congenial, yes. Have a motion as second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Bowlby?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Cottom? Yes. Feldman?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Eslick?
Yes.
McSpadden?
Yes.
Item number 2 is presentation of the budget, which we just previously did. We don't have any motions there. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion to adjourn is second. Call the roll.
Michael?
Yes.
Feldman?
Yes.
Cottom? Yes. Long?
Yes.
Eslick?
Yes.
Bowlby?
Yes.
McSpadden?
Yes.
Call to order the Claremore City Council meeting. Note the roll. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda as printed?
So moved.
Second. Motion in 2 seconds. Any questions? Call the roll.
Michael?
Yes.
Cottom? Yes. Feldman?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Eslick?
Yes.
Bowlby?
Yes.
McSpadden?
Yes.
Any items unforeseen?
None.
Mayor's report and appointment. Number 1, please be safe tonight in case that weather happens to get to our area. And just publicly want to say thank you to Mr. Manager John Feary and the accounting team, Sarah.
They laughed. They got
I
out of here.
know, but
I didn't want to answer any
I was
questions.
talking to
No,
this-
thank you, Mayor.
Just their job, and they put a lot of work into this, and I understand the difficulty because it's going to be a tough year, but I appreciate their work on putting this budget together and really appreciate the new format, so it's understandable for us. That's all I have. Awards and presentations, Mr. Manager.
No awards or presentations.
Staff reports, Mr. Manager.
Yes, Madam Mayor, very quickly, a couple of things. One, thank you all for sitting through that. Again, we're going to make sure that we get all that information out there, and I do appreciate your acknowledgement. It is a difficult process. It looks easy to sit up here and talk about it for 30 minutes, but we started in February, and it's a difficult process. And the decisions that we make in those rooms and that you all make here affect the lives of 249 full-time employees and their families. And so we appreciate you all because it's not something that anybody should take lightly. And it does. It comes with challenges. So, but we're going to continue to build on that. A couple things. May 18th is we scheduled this long before the RSU scheduled their celebration, but May 18th is our Employee Appreciation Drillers Ball Game night. It's a Saturday, so there'll be fireworks after the game and all that stuff. So if you're interested, please let us know. Let me know. I think we're allowing everybody up to 5 tickets. Is that correct? 6? Okay, 6 tickets. So if you would like tickets to the Drillers on a Saturday night and watch some fireworks afterwards, let me know. We are less than a month away from the rodeo. We have made, again, some significant progress out there. Just got numbers today through PRCA closing. That world is unique to me, but they opened up last Tuesday, the entrance, and they closed today at noon, and we have 750 contestants. So it continues to grow and get huge. And so, as you all are aware, lots of sponsors. We're appreciative of them. Typically, they've got their ticket packets. At some point in the next few weeks, they'll send back what they don't want to use, and I'll probably have tickets available. Typically, when we have tickets for counselors and staff, they come from sponsors that won't use them, whether it's GRDA or RFR or so. So if not, go buy them and go to the rodeo. So I'll let you know. As you'll recall, coming up in June, we are going to be hosting the 50th annual Shelby Ford Mid-America Nationals. Huge event. We're excited for that. So that's the June 20th through 23rd type. Coincides with Route 66 Road Fest in Tulsa. We've done some great cross-partnership with them. Through that process and those individuals, we were asked to submit a RFP for the Mid-America or the National Mustang. I'm going to mess up the name because I don't have it. Anyway, I was notified late last week. We got notification that beginning in 2026, we will also be the host of that very world-renowned and major car show. So for car enthusiasts, Claremore is becoming the place to be. Look at these annual things as we move forward. So it'll be fun. It'll be really fun. We're excited. And more news to come out of the expo. We're working on something really big, but I can't quite get there with you yet. But we're super excited. Super excited
Send us an email.
in 2025.
Or text
There's some things that happen. With that, be safe tonight. All of our power and light and first responders are on tap, and I hope to God that none of them have to leave their home or get out of their car for any reason, but we are ready for this evening, and by the grace of God, we get as fortunate as we did in the last deal, and we only had a few slight outages due to the power line tree limbs, so no major outages. With that, that is all I have for now, Madam Mayor.
The current business, do we have a motion to approve the consent items as printed?
So moved. Second.
A motion is second, any discussion? Call the roll.
Michael,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Cottom. Yes. Long,
Yes.
Eslick,
Yes.
Bowlby,
Yes.
McSpadden.
Yes.
Item number 2, discussion and possible action on the contract for medical, dental, and life insurance for fiscal year 2024-25. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're going to ask Dason Gortney, who's been our broker for many years. Ashley's on the agenda, but
I know.
she's going
She's
to
deferring.
She's deferring. So with that, as I mentioned in my email, and you'll see in the budget message, a little bit of a transition this year on health insurance. Let me differentiate. Healthcare is not health insurance, but health insurance costs, like everything else, continue to go up. And we're fortunate that we have an advocate on our side, and Dason, who's been representing us for
I think it's 20 years.
20 years now through multiple iterations. Wherever he's gone, which has not been a lot of places, through different brokerages and how that worked, he has always insisted wherever he's ended up that he gets to continue because he has a partnership with Claremore. We're very appreciative and it's helped us out. So with that, I'll let Dason talk about this next year's.
Yeah, it's been a great, it was 2003, I think, is when I got a phone call when Dad had been doing some stuff out at, the old stainless place is now AXH.
Oh.
And gets worse, granted. Anyway, and said, hey, the city's got some issues, so we came out and worked on some things. So it's been a privilege to work with the city for that long, and seen a few city managers come through the seat too.
The best ones here.
But John pointed out something really interesting, and I've listened to the budget discussions tonight, and healthcare is not the same as health insurance, right? But healthcare costs are increasing. So yeah, I don't want to ruin your TV nights, but when you're watching TV, just count the number of commercials there are for pharmaceutical drugs, prescription drugs. That is a huge thing. When I first got in this business in 1994, 95, prescription drug costs were 10% of plan costs. We see them now 30% plus. And so where we're seeing most of the utilization in all of our health plans, and my company, we have got plans across the country. I think we have 500,000 clients. And most of those are self-insured like you guys are. And what we see is that the pharmacy is the issue. Yes, there are things going on. We believe in treating things early, so we want to incent people to go in and get the wellness done. So, echo that throughout your families and your friends and your coworkers and wherever you work, because anything caught early is less expensive, but the outcomes aren't better. That's where we want to focus things on, is on outcomes. So some of these drugs are great, but there's a price tag on them, and so gene therapy and all those things are coming. So what is good for the city is that our firm has underwriters, actuaries, we validate what's going on, what Blue Cross sends to us. We actually see it before they send it to us. We have our own actuaries and underwriters that actually calculate renewal increases. We have a director of pharmacy in our region, Dr. Boo. There's 4 people on his team because that's how much this stuff is going on with pharmacy. So we evaluate contracts and different things. And so all that said, I think the stewardship of your plan is really going well. It's my team, so I'm gonna say that, right? But we can validate some of those things with what we've done. So we did see an increase in costs this year. I think your packet showed you the raise with a 10% increase. I am hopeful that we're ahead of the curve there and what we're trying to do. There's some planning and some different things we've done inside the plan to focus on disease management programs. We do have a custom pharmacy contract that the Dr. Fu that I mentioned has worked with Prime, which is the people associated with Blue Cross that handle the pharmacy piece. And so we have some things there. The contract is auditable with pharmacies, so we will actually go back and see what they guaranteed us, and then if we met those, that'll happen about 90 days after the plan year, so we recoup some possible money there. So that's kind of the trend in healthcare is 7 to 8% in pharmacy just for inflation, and then a 5 to 6% increase in all other healthcare costs, again, just for inflation. Throw in demographics, utilization, things like that, and everybody gets their own little formula, right? Is there any questions in what you've read or got your signature packet, or just kind of the status of the plan? Anything else, John, you'd like me to touch on?
No, I just want to, there's a lot of thought, just much like the budget, and I'd be remiss. Ashley and her staff, and Marlo and Michelle, this is not something we take lightly. We're never going to be an organization that can pay top dollar like the private sector, so we got to be able to do some things like offer quality and affordable health care or health insurance. And so I cannot, the fact that we have Dason and his historical and institutional knowledge about our plan and our trends, and now we have access to all these things that we can track and address fixed cost. Data drives everything. The fact that we have that resource there, but more importantly, and I love Dason, but there's a lot of people that do what you do. There's not a lot of people that can do what Ashley does for this organization. And Counselor, you're in HR, you understand the importance of that. And so I would just be remiss if I didn't thank her and Dason both. I've had the privilege of working with Ashley for a long time now from our previous West Claremore, as I like to call it, from our previous place. And she's exactly the person you want when you're trying to take care of people, but also be fiscally responsible to the taxpayer. And she gets that. And so she's put a lot into this, and Dason has put a lot. Dason and I are talking on weekends after hours. So, because it's about maintaining what we can for our people without costing them out of health insurance and without costing us out of health insurance. So thank you both. The plan is a slight change this year. We've gone from to a Blue Cross Blue Shield Advantage.
So Blue is the network.
Yeah.
So I can speak to that.
Yes, please.
So the benefits are not changing. There's nothing inside of the structure of the plan, deductibles, co-insurance, co-pays, that are being changed per the plan document. Formularies can change, right? Drugs come onto the market, drugs go to generic. Those things can change as they always do. But as far as structurally, no benefit changes. We did a disruption report because Blue Cross has a network called Blue Advantage. This is the first year that it was open for the city of Claremore to take advantage of, because it was for only groups under 50 employees. So we did a disruption report to see how many people would be impacted if we were to consider this. For that, we got a reduction in claims costs. So you say, well, Jason, you got a reduction in claims costs, why are our rates going up, right? Utilization, projections, making sure we stay on top of things. are where this rate increase is coming from. What we're hoping is that the change from preferred to advantage with lower negotiated pricing with physicians and provider facilities will result in a lower claims cost. We still have the pharmacy thing, we're going to see increase. Diabetic drugs are a huge thing. They're doing wonders. GLP-1s are a wonderful drug in the results they're getting. They come at a cost of about $1,500 a month, depending on the drug, per person, per pill, right? So do the math. It's becoming a frontline diagnosis for new diabetics. It is being a transition drug from your old whatever drug you were on for your diabetes. They're transitioning a lot of people to. So we'll continue to see that increase. So the Advantage Network, very low disruption. I think it's less than 1% of the claims that went through last year would be impacted this year. And so when we look at that, it's I think fairly easy to message open enrollment, and we can let people know what they're walking into with that. So
Thank you.
that was the track on that.
Yeah, and those are ones that for the benefit versus the disruption that we didn't see a lot of.
We'd have been over 20% increase.
Yeah.
Without this transition. Again, the disruption shows.
It's pretty normal these days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you go from a just below $3 million potential maximum, and then it's like, hey, it's going to be $3.8 million, you know. And where do you find that $800,000? You raise premiums, and it's from employees, and it's from, and those are the, so this was a great alternative, an avenue for us, and truly the providers that are no longer on there were not. They even ran a report, I think we had four or five people that maybe even ever used one of them, so we're.
Oh, yeah, the actual utilization within those.
Yeah,
was
so
very
it was.
low. It was less than a few $1,000s total in
Yeah,
claims.
yeah. So, again, this is one of those things that we put a lot of time and effort and energy into, and without these two people here, it would have been tough to get to. So thank you.
Thank you.
Because it was the only percentage increase was music to my ears. So.
We need to take action on this.
Yeah, I need to accept. Contract, correct.
Yes, we're asking for you all to approve.
So
the
entertain a
contract.
motion to accept the contract.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call roll.
McSpadden.
Yes.
Bowlby.
Yes.
Cottom. Yes. Spellman.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Eslick.
Yes.
Because it's insurance related and I failed to mention it, the budget also for the council, there is because we typically don't know cost on liability for property, vehicle, all those other. We know, just like everybody else who owns a home, that's going up. So the budget also includes about a 20% increase on insurance costs for property and casualty stuff. I apologize, I forgot to touch on that. That's a significant cost. Thank you, Daisy.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Ashley. Be safe getting
Thank
home.
you. Okay, item number 3 is presentation of the City of Claremore budget, which we've already had. Does anybody have any questions before we move past this?
I guess I could have told you that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Never comes.
All right, moving on. Item number 4, discussion of possible action on a request to approve final plat for, is that Vi? V?
Big Gladio, yeah.
Big Audio.
Big Gladio, yeah.
Mr. Clifton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council, Mr. Fury. The item before you is a request to approve the final plat. And as I'm kind of unpacking this first plat, there is a subsequent plat on here as a separate item. The timeline and the manner in which they went through the planning commission process and vote are the same, so I'm going to cover it once. That way I don't have to repeat it a second time. So this particular plat is located at the southwest corner of Driftwood and Brady Street. So it's just south of the Cornerstone Building, if you know where that's at. Total proposed platted area is 2.84 acres. It'll be platted in a Block 1, Lot 1 configuration. This went through 2 rounds of review, the first of which was on March 20th of 2024. The second round of review was on March 28th of 2024. After that second round of review, the TAC found that it met and substantially complied with the facets of the Uniform Code, or the Unified Development Code. On April 2nd, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the final plat unanimously, 5 being in favor, 0 in opposition, and 0 abstentions. Because of that, staff did recommend approval of the plat tonight.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. discrepancies on easement widths. We require a certain width for certain things. It was very minor Scrivener stuff, so nothing substantial.
Any further questions?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Call the roll.
Michael,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Cottom. Yes. Long,
Yes.
Eslick.
Yes.
Bowlby,
Yes.
Yes.
McSpadden.
Item number 5, discussion and possible action on the request to approve the final plat of Claremore Cottages 2. Mr. Phil.
Yeah, so this is also a request to approve a final plat. This particular development is just a little bit north of the previous area that we just discussed. This is at the northwest corner of Driftwood and Pine Street. Total platted area is 1.20 acres, 6 lots in 1 block with 2 reserves. Similar, all the dates are the same. It went swimmingly through all the process. There were a few discrepancies along the way, but we were able to rectify those. And after consideration by the Planning Commission and giving a unanimous recommendation for approval, staff is also recommending approval.
Second.
The motion approved in second. Any questions? Call the roll.
Feldman,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Cottom. Yes. Long,
Yes.
Eslick.
Yes.
Bowlby,
Yes.
McSpadden.
Yes.
You go right to it.
Item number 6, discussion possible action on resolution number 2024-5, authorizing the mayor and staff to sign documents related to the City of Claremore Community Development Block Grant 19164 CDBG SC 23 for sanitary sewer improvements. Mr. Machi.
Madam Mayor, Council, Mr. So this is just a standard resolution that is allowing the mayor and staff to sign all relevant documents for the CDBG 2023 project, which is the sanitary sewer. The documents are the leverage document, committing our funds, the environmental documents that we sign, category excluded for most of it, and then our federal compliance. So these are standard documents that'll be uploaded to OK Grants.
Motion to approve.
The motion approved in second. Any questions? Call the roll.
Michael,
Yes.
Bowlby,
Yes.
McSpadden,
Yes.
Cottom. Yes. Feldman,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Eslick.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn. There it is.
I didn't hear a second. I didn't hear a second.
Second.
Okay, motion to adjourn in second. Call the roll.
Michael,
Yes.
Cottom. Yes. Feldman,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Eslick,
Yes.
Bowlby,
Yes.
McSpadden.
Yes.
You guys have a safe evening, please.